Windows Phone Central Podcast, episode 144 for July 4th, 2012. Hey everybody, Daniel Rubino here, joined with Rafael Rivera and Jay Bennett for a spectacular holiday edition of the Windows Phone Central Podcast, and we're back, of course, from San Francisco after the Windows Phone Summit. How you guys doing today on this holiday? Well, it's a holiday for Rafael and I. Jay's doesn't celebrate this at all.
Yeah, I don't know why we don't celebrate Independence Day. I feel like it was a fairly monumental time in our history as well.
Yeah, you know.
Huh? I mean, but then again, I think we all remember Independence Day. I mean, it was what? It's another anniversary of the time when Will Smith went into space and killed aliens. I saw the film.
True. It's a very good movie.
Not to mention we're wearing our Windows 8 suits. And
which
Jay's
we
wearing
should
a regular
point
suit.
out, we didn't actually plan to do that. That was just both. We're both blamed.
We totally coordinated.
Both were, sure. So, anyways, we have a huge podcast ahead for you guys, and being a day off. And also, right, I'm actually well rested now because I'm full-time with the site, and I have stopped being a sleep tech, which means I actually get sleep now. So that's actually a good thing.
Congratulations, man.
Thank you very much. Yes.
How is it being a full-time writer?
It's pretty awesome. I mean, it's kind of like, what you imagine. It's like, I can stay home and just write and work on the site all day. So it's it's pretty good stuff. I'm definitely privileged, happy, and lucky.
Just to clarify, does this mean that you now spend 24 hours a day in your flat with your cats?
That sounds a little bad. I do have a significant other, so I'm not by myself. And I do go out occasionally. And matter of fact, I got a gym membership, so I'll be going out frequently during the week for that. And I go out to dinner a lot because I don't cook. So there we go.
Is a significant other called Kat, by the way? Because if she is,
no, it's not. It's a human being. It's a female.
It's a human being.
Yes,
guys, you heard it here first. Daniel's seeing a human being.
I haven't been single since I was 14. Okay. Anyway, so let's go into the big story.
I love the start of this podcast.
We're going to start talking about Windows Phone 8, of course. Jay did the show notes here, so he calls a full roundup of Windows Phone 8, what we know so far. My God, man, that is a big, big topic. We can make the whole show out of that, though we're not going to. We're going to try it out.
I thought if I give us all these options of things to talk about, we could have a nice chat, because the podcast last week, 2 weeks ago even, was a little bit disjointed. You guys had a lot of fun with the live show from a hotel room. So I thought we'd sort of go back and just sort of reiterate what we've learned about Windows Phone 8, what the big announcements are, and the things that we've learned since then as well. But the trouble is, I've now left myself thinking, where the heck do I start? Because I think we should just maybe talk about the biggest features that everyone's excited about. So for those of you who for some reason have been burying your head in the sand for the past 2 weeks, Windows Phone 8 is big news. Windows Phone 8 potentially represents a chance for Microsoft to actually become popular with third-party developers who want to spread their apps across platforms, bringing about C++ native development, which I think is probably the biggest news for me. There's a lot of also cool APIs that we've done articles about to tell you all about some new things that are coming that may or may not have been fully unveiled yet. What else have we know? Oh, and of course, the big news is that you won't be able to update your existing Windows Phone 7 devices. You'll be updating to a new version called 7.8. Should we start there? Because it's still the big talking discussion, isn't it?
Yeah, although some of our audience is certainly getting tired of the whole 7.8 discussion, because, so the 7.8 thing, sure, is it's what appears to be a small update. A lot of people have written us being like, well, it's 7.8, we're at 7.5, so that's a significant bump. So it must be actually, it's not a 0.1 upgrade, or, and Rafael knows this. They chose 7.8 on purpose, not because it actually means anything for the development. They chose it as a 7.28 Windows Phone 8 thing. It's supposed to be actually kind of witty, but it doesn't actually. Don't read into the 0.3 difference as meaning we're going to get 0.3 more stuff, or that it's going to have way more features.
Out of curiosity, how would you quantify 0.3 more stuff?
Yeah, right. Well, some people are actually doing that. They're saying, what about a 7.5, 0.1? I don't know. But so the deal is, right now, all we know about it is it's a new start screen. And we should be, blunt on this. That's all Microsoft is saying at the time right now that it is. The big question is, will there be more? And so I wrote that article this week basically saying maybe, which isn't the answer anybody wants to hear. But to be honest, that's where we are right now. My position on that is that Microsoft basically hasn't finalized 7.8 yet. And I think that's true. Rafael may have something to say on that if he knows.
Yeah. And Microsoft doesn't want to back themselves up into a corner, right? If they want to leave themselves wiggle room, like you said, just in case they want to introduce more features, maybe backport some other stuff based on the popularity of that particular feature on Windows Phone 8. And plus, we're still going to get security updates and maybe minor fixes if something goes critically haywire. So no, it's not just the start screen. It's the start screen, bunch of fixes if need be, and maybe other stuff if they get bored.
I think the reason they call the start screen the marquee feature is I think it's kind of just you turn the phone on and visually bang, there you go. Right. This has been updated. You are getting one of the big new features. And there's a lot of things that are also going to be changing on sort of the front. We know a little bit about what might happen with the with lock screens and how they might change as well. And I'd be surprised if they don't bring things like the lock screen improvements along as well, because it just makes sense that it could be done with the existing framework. There's some things they can't do. NFC is not one of them, because the Lumia, as people keep saying in the chat at the moment, that we won't have NFC. Please remember that there is a Lumia 610 NFC version available in Orange, France. So we know that NFC is possible with the current Windows Phone stack. The big change in Windows, the reason you can't really do the update is, of course, because the underlying structure's changed. The kernel has changed, and we're moving to the to Windows Phone RT, as they're calling it, or WinPRT for anyone who's interested, which, of course, shares its kernel with Windows 8 or aspects of its kernel. The thing which I've seen as the big discussion point this week, and something I actually wanted to get your opinion on, Rafael, is a lot of people are talking about, okay, how is this going to affect apps and developers? Because why would developers want to bother developing for Windows Phone 8, for Windows Phone 7, when they can be targeting the new experience and the new APIs? It's a valid point, and I've got my own opinion on it, but I was wondering where you stand on it.
Well, they should definitely not target Windows Phone 8 at all. No, I'm just kidding.
Agreed.
I think it comes down to if you make it work for either Windows 8 or Windows Phone 8, it works on both, right? With minor jiggering, of course, of the code. So you might as well, go for it. I mean, you're probably going to be targeting one of those platforms anyway.
Yeah. See, my perspective about the Windows Phone 7 is people like me, for example, we're going to carry on going with Windows Phone 7 development for some time, because it targets pretty much all the core audience. It gives Windows Phone 7, and we won't use the new API straight away. We'll make sure that we've got the coverage, we've got the existing market that's there.
Yeah, that's true. And those apps will continue to work on Windows Phone 8, which will further slow the adoption of Windows 8 development, or Windows Phone 8 development. Sorry.
This is going to be sort of like the Mango situation, though, correct? Where couldn't you have an app that, so you could have had an app that was Mango ready, but the users wouldn't, of course, get those Mango features if they weren't on Mango. Can't you also, isn't this going to be a similar process where people can run the version 4.8, they just won't get all those features?
So it's not going to be a case of people who, so if I program in something new for Windows Phone 8 and I say, right, this is a new API, I would have to have two different compiled versions of the app. One version which will be targeted towards Windows Phone 7, and one which will be targeted towards Windows Phone 8. So it means that we can't just same with Mango. So when Mango came out, if you compiled it on the Mango SDK and your target was 7.5 or 7.1 as they called it, that would only work on anything which had the Mango update or above. Now you could also maintain a version of the code which was for vanilla, or Nodo as it was at the time, and that eventually got wound down. But I could go back and make updates to that version as well. The only way to guarantee that you're going to cover everybody at the moment is to target it for Mango, because the Mango options, everything that you can do on Windows Phone Mango will be doable on Windows Phone 8, and you'll therefore just miss out on a few of the new APIs that won't be accessible to Mango, but you could just stick with one version of the app that will work on both phones, just won't necessarily have some of the new cool Windows Phone 8 features.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because there's I hate to say it, there's not a huge compelling story to really upgrade your project to Windows Phone 8. Most of the people out there writing fart apps and calculators, they don't need the new features in Windows Phone 8 unless maybe they want to take advantage of a half tile. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see the adoption rate on that side. I was going to ask you if they supported lighting up the app, depending on what hardware you're on, but you just answered that. So that's interesting.
This is the thing. I'm not seeing anything which suggests that you will. What they intend, and what actually Microsoft have said, is the intention is to have one project in Visual Studio that you can then just change the target of and compile it for that. Now, if they go ahead and make something which says, right, we'll just strip out these components and these parts of the API when we're building it, targeting it for the old version, that will be incredible. Microsoft will have pulled off something which I don't think many other software vendors ever really pull off, and compiling something specifically for certain areas and just disabling certain APIs. It's a very risky game to get into. What I would like to see is having one project that just says, okay, can I do a little hint to the compiler to say, disable this feature if you're compiling for Windows Phone 7. If I can do that, that will be impressive as well. Microsoft aren't ignoring this problem. They're actually tackling it head on. And it's really, I don't know where it's going to go, but I can see developers for now sticking with Windows Phone 7, especially seeing, we're going to have the new live tiles and probably a couple of new features like the notifications on the lock screen available in Windows Phone 7.8, and they'll just naturally make their way up to Windows Phone 8. So what if we miss out on a couple of new things like the new Bluetooth stack, NFC, and a couple of the other cool app protocol features, which you can find all in my write-up.
Right. So it'll be interesting to see how this happens. But even with Mango stuff, it took a while before a lot of Mango apps came out, and it's going to have to do with both the hardware adoption and, like Rafael said, just because an app can be Windows Phone 8 compatible doesn't mean it has to be. You're only going to do this if you want those new features. And to be honest, a lot of those new features haven't been revealed yet. I think a couple of us know what they are, but when that becomes more clear, it's going to be obvious that some apps will definitely want to use that. The big marquee apps are like our app. We're already planning on some of these changes, but yeah, it's going to be dependent upon the type of app you have. So it should be interesting. Games is probably the biggest one, of course, because a lot of the changes to do with the engine. And so gaming is going to be interesting to see how that gets sort of split off between Windows Phone 8 games, which are going to be like, leaps and bounds different than current, games. So how that transpires will be interesting and possibly frustrating, I think, for users.
And actually, that'll share the same problem. Our chat room is bringing up a fair point at the moment, saying that, the issue is if you stick with Windows Phone 7, that the resolution will be automatically resized for these big 720p screens. Whereas in Windows Phone 8, you'll be able to, the SDK lets you specify, use this size, make sure it's scalable. So actually, that is a fair point. And actually, I can imagine that being the case for Windows Phone 7 games being run on Windows Phone 8. It'll be interesting to see how good the upscaling is on that, because it's a fairer way to go all the way up to 720p.
That's a great point. That's similar to what happened when I guess the new iOS devices came out. Everyone had to kind of recompile and get new resources in there.
Right. So that's what's going to happen here. Microsoft is advising developers basically, when you make an app, make the high res graphics in the app, and they can scale them down, and it will look fine. But scaling up might not look as good, So, but if you have those high resolution graphics in there, it would always look the best on almost everybody's device versus giving that range. So, it's pretty smart how the whole system is being taken care of, and at least they are making all these previous Windows Phone 7 apps, functional,
compatible.
So it's future. It's just not as good going backwards, but we kind of know that already. That's sort of the big issue here, which is the fact that the kernel is changing. Now, Microsoft has come out and reiterated this position, and we've been saying it for a while too, but let's make it clear. People are like, well, how do we know Microsoft isn't going to do this again, like in a year or two? They're not. Switching to the NT kernel is
RT.
A huge... Oh, well, yeah, okay, RT, but it's technically, RT's not really the kernel, is it? That's
RT's the run. No, sorry, it's the runtime, but it's the key bit of it.
Yeah. But it's switching to this kernel, which is going to be eventually on Xbox, so of course it's going to be on Windows 8 and then Windows Phone, is a big alignment, and it's going to be like that presumably for years to come. There is, as far as there are, of course, research. I know Rafael knows about this. Microsoft does research with alternate kernels and, going forward with new technologies. But to transplant that into Windows Desktop, it's a big momentous change. So, though this won't happen again, I know we said that back with, well, I don't know if we actually said that, but it happened. There's obviously this change happened with Windows Phone 7. But let's understand, let's go back a little bit. Microsoft was originally going to do Photon. Photon was an extension of Windows Mobile. It was the same framework. It was built off of that. And that had been in development for quite some time. It was actually on phones. It was being tested. It was shown off to people in the tech industry. We know that because it kind of got leaked out, some information. And from what I understand, it was an interesting meeting because everybody kind of laughed at it. They, it kind of fell flat on its face. And then Microsoft went, we're going to have to make a decision here. And they decided, let's do either Windows Phone or Windows Photon. And they chose Windows Phone. And within a year, they basically completely changed the system and, redid it. And it's what we have today. But that was a stopgap. They did that because they knew the iPhone was big. Android was getting, was just, getting started. And so they had to do, a dramatic change. So Windows Phone 7 is actually a stopgap. They could have, switching to the NT kind of thing and the different kernel, it just wasn't feasible at the time. The ARM processors couldn't run that. So they couldn't have done it 2 years ago. I know a lot of people are like, why didn't they just do it years ago? Save themselves some trouble. It's nice to say, but I mean, it's a lot of development to do what Microsoft has done, both on the desktop and the phone, to bring it to this level. It was impossible, as far as I know, a couple of years ago. The chipsets just couldn't do it. And so that and the development wasn't there. So the CE thing was an extension. But CE goes back to the 1990s. I mean, it's really, really old. So, and that's just what we have to understand here with how this development worked. That when Microsoft said they could have taken a couple of years off and just waited till this caught up, basically started anew with Windows Phone 8. Windows Phone 8 could have been their new operating system. For the last 2 years, we presumably would have all been on Android or the iPhone. And so Microsoft would have lost that share. They would have kept that developer community going. Now they have a good developer community really built up and a huge ecosystem. And you can sort of consider this, a lot of people are calling this now a reboot of Windows Phone. It's almost like how they've done it with, the comic book movies and the new Spider-Man, right? And it's a similar concept. It really is. It's a similar concept. They're just building off of that, but restarting it again. And I know that's making some user base upset, but I think it was a much better strategy than just going, wiping their hands of Windows Mobile, taking 3 years off, and then saying, okay, we're going to come back now into the fray.
It's really important as well because we just cannot underestimate enough how much this the new native code access is going to make a difference for the consumers, for us, because if we're being honest, the strategy wasn't working. People were not bringing across their apps and releasing them across all three platforms at once, and it was because there was too much of a difference to code for Windows Phone. I maintain that Windows Phone is still the easiest OS to develop for, but if you put all the work into going for iOS first or Android first, and you can't bring across some of those sort of key sort of native access, native files, native routines, it's just hard for developers, and developers aren't necessarily going to want to invest that amount of time. I would be really disappointed when Windows Phone 8 comes out if we don't start seeing some of the bigger games, the bigger releases get released simultaneously across all three platforms.
Yeah,
I'll be even more disappointed if they abandon the Metro UI and give us the same UIs on all three, but that shouldn't happen.
No, I doubt that'll happen. And from when Paul and I were at E3 and speaking to a lot of developers off the record, they were all very excited about Windows Phone 8. And this is before a lot of the information was revealed. We had hints about what it was going to be and what it's going to involve, but they all already had been exposed to it. They knew what was coming, and they were all like giving us that wink nod. And there was a weird I don't know, an agreement with a lot of these gaming companies. Windows Phone 8 is like really good, and they're all prepping for it. So they knew something we didn't. Now we all kind of know, but they were all very excited about it. I think that's for specific reasons. So the 7.8 thing, I know it's going to be problematic for the community, but I know Rafael is, I believe the quote was, people don't give a shit. And it's true. I mean, outside of our community, the enthusiast community, actual regular users don't know about this stuff. And people keep comparing it to Android and this. A couple things with Android. First of all, I got to show you this. This is kind of interesting.
Oh dear, here we go.
Yeah. I actually am running an Android phone. Don't worry, I'm not giving up on Windows.
Get out of here.
No, I'm doing it because I can. And I think it's just my job to be familiar with Android a bit if I'm going to critique it. But that's a Galaxy Nexus. That's a developer phone. And it came with 4.0. I put 4.1 on it, Jelly Bean, which was just announced. And let me tell you the little nightmare that was putting 4.1 on there. I don't think Windows Phone users appreciate when we get do those the cap files or the little trick with the data and all that to upgrade your phone, how simple, dead simple that is compared to what you have to do on Android. And this is a developer phone. I had to unlock it, root it, do all this nonsense. There was a moment where it didn't work. I mean, it took me about 3 hours to read everything and be familiar with it. Android is a different beast. It's just, it is a nerd phone. Having said that, I actually kind of like it. It's not bad, actually. 4.1 is kind of nice. But
Project Butter's going well then.
Yeah. Well, to compare Windows Phone, though, to Android and what's happening is night and day. It just isn't the same. I would also say that Android, despite all its fragmentation and update issues, is doing very well. Okay. And if they can survive, I mean, it was like almost 10% now are on Ice Cream Sandwich, which was released, I think, last October.
And that's the easiest thing to pull out of all this. It's like, we've had Android can claim backwards compatibility, but it doesn't, because you try and load up certain new games or new apps on the old devices, and they chug. Nothing works. It's absolutely terrible.
Yeah,
and that's the truth of the matter.
Yeah, and because only about 10% are on Ice Cream Sandwich, developers aren't writing apps for Ice Cream Sandwich. I mean, stuff was you understand, Ice Cream Sandwich just isn't new features for users. It's new stuff for developers too. Mm-hmm. Developers, though, really aren't using it because, like we spoke about earlier, it's about targeting your audience. So no one's actually writing apps that take advantage of all the stuff in Ice Cream Sandwich because they'd automatically kill the app. No one would be able to use it. And so it's a real slow adoption process. So that's actually a big problem because Android's done this quite a few times. People are basically still writing apps for, I think, the 2.x realm of Android. That's like the safe piece. And that tells you just how far behind that is. Microsoft has this one gap that's going to happen here between the 7 and 8 system. But at least 8 can run all of 7 apps, no problem. And there's going to be a lot of push to get apps to 8 and, adoption of the hardware. And seeing as our user base is actually pretty small still, there's more.
It's the right time to do it.
Yeah, there's way more growth going forward than there is about keeping what we have now. It's kind of a blunt way to put it. So,
okay, so we've covered off Windows Phone 8. We've covered off the fact that we're switching to this new Win PRT. Let's talk about something that we haven't yet talked about on this podcast yet, and the big Win RT announcement from a month ago now, if you can believe it, a Microsoft Surface. So Microsoft Surface represents a huge moment for Microsoft in the fact that they're actually making hardware again that isn't just a keyboard or a mouse or something really simple. And I know a lot of our chat room's about to blow up because they've all wanted us to talk about Surface for ages. So we'll start off, we'll do the nice segue, and that is, of course, that we need to remember that now apps between Windows Phone 8, as Rafael covered us earlier, Windows Phone 8 and Windows 8, Metro apps at least, are going to share an awful lot of code and will also be written with XAML and C# as the principal for normal apps. And it means that theoretically, people might not actually upgrade their Windows Phone 7 apps. They might make a Windows 8 app and then downscale that onto Windows Phone 8. Who knows? In fact, that's possibly the way that I'm thinking of doing it. So the big news is, of course, that Surface is, well, let's be honest, Surface is sexy. I want Surface. I want Surface in my bed. I want Surface all over my room. I just want a Surface in every place I can possibly have it. There, I've said it.
Well, it's US only.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
It's one of those. It's just this device that's made of, they've made it out of liquid magnesium, whatever they're calling it. Microsoft have actually pulled it out of, and done it properly, and they've made this really clever design. We've got a kickstand there. It works as a laptop and as a tablet. We've got a really clever cover. If you haven't already seen it, go and have a little look around. The cover is also a keyboard, either in the form of a full keyboard with spring keys or in the form of a touch keyboard whereby they've got pressure sensitive keys, which looks like it was horrifically over-engineered, but is going to be fantastic. And this is just the covers for the screen. And it's really exciting because this looks like it's going to be a real killer device as long as they get the price point right. What are you guys thinking on Surface?
Well, I think the price is the main issue here.
Right.
People are talking about they're aiming for the $500 range. if they can do that or even slightly cheaper for the RT version. I know the Pro version I expect to be more expensive, but if the RT version could be priced, very competitively, even
it has to compete with the iPad.
Yeah. I mean, I know presumably we're getting the cover and keyboard with it, which, is like between a $1,500 value. No, there's a lot of evidence showing that that stuff is coming with it.
With the Pro one, maybe.
I think with the RT, they may offer a version without it, which would be really
right. And there'll probably be promotional offers where they bundle that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
But if they can keep the price low, it'll do very well. People have responded very well to it. There's been some real good coverage showing how, I think it was like Apple received more press coverage, but there was way more positive coverage of Microsoft and RT. And basically, it was showing how actually there's more impetus with Microsoft's announcements than Apple's recent announcements. And so it goes to show you actually Microsoft's onto something here with this. A lot of people are sort of really interested in it. When Paul Theron and I were in San Francisco, we were having a couple of drinks, and the waiter was curious about what we were talking about. We mentioned about the RT and the Surface and the Pro version, and he said exactly what Microsoft would love to hear, which is like, he's like, I kind of want an iPad, but it's like, I want to run desktop stuff on it. It's like, I want to do Photoshop and things on the go. Or like, well, this is exactly what you want. And there's a lot of people who want to do that stuff, so there really is a market for it. But I think the design looks great. It's just going to come down to the price availability. Now, everybody's saying that at first it's only going to be available online and in Microsoft stores, which is going to obviously significantly reduce availability. And then it's a matter of getting out to the third-party retailers. On the other hand, I think there's a good chance Microsoft may, subsidize the cost a bit, like what they did with the Xbox to reduce its price. This is why Microsoft lost so much money on the system, is that they've been underpaying. The Kindle does this too. That's why Kindles are so cheap. Amazon is basically taking a loss on each device because it's about selling the media and the content and the adoption rates. So my feeling was that Microsoft's going to probably price this below cost because they can afford to do it. They're licensing it to themselves, right? And just to force the adoption. We've seen that this week also with the announcement that Windows 8 desktop upgrade is $40. I mean, that is just, there's no reason. Yeah, there's no reason to pirate that, at $40. And that's not just an upgrade. That's just what I was looking for, because I don't really like just upgrading my Windows 7 to Windows 8. You can do that, or you can install it to external media and reformat your system and do a complete clean install.
We better be clear. You have to have a Windows 7 installation already there to do that, but you can format it during the update process, which is, exactly what I want to do as well. Yeah,
because it's going to verify your license, basically, and it runs a tool. It's really brilliant, the system came out with. So they're obviously pushing real heavily for mass adoption. It's in Microsoft's interest to get everybody onto RT, whether it's desktop, tablet, or their phone, because that's going to drive development of it, right? You're going to get everybody interested.
So I just wanted to throw out there real quick. It's not just Windows 7. It's any licensed version of Windows that's currently supported.
Yes.
So if you're still on XP, you can get this upgrade and legally, fresh install.
Yeah, it's truly remarkable. It's extremely aggressive pricing. It's going to be available in tons of countries, and they really simplified it with this tool that you're going to download, and it'll just do it for you. Hopefully there won't be any issues with it. But it's, like we said, the reasons obvious are doing this. They need to get everybody onto an RT system, and then developers are going to have a reason to target that system. And that's really what they're trying to do. So they're going to subsidize the cost of this, get everybody on RT, and that's why I think tablets will be priced very competitively. And then developers are going to go, aha, and then they're going to start coding for all this stuff. And that's what's going to drive the platform. It's a little bit unfair that Microsoft can do that, but, that's
well,
they've
got to be careful here, because as people have pointed out, this isn't just a fight against Android and Apple. They've still got to keep their system alive and their relationship with their OEM partners alive. They can't price it so low as to drive Asus and Acer, etc., away from actually wanting to develop these, to make these devices, and to sort of make sure that they're available for everybody.
That's true. Yeah, good point.
So they're at a horrible position. I can't remember what size does the RT come with? Is it 32 gig? Is the lowest one, or 64? I can't remember.
Yeah, I think so.
32.
Yeah, so they need to price, if they price that against the equivalent priced iPad, which is an expensive thing when you start to get into a decent amount of storage, they're about hitting the right spot. Especially seeing as a lot of people will actually buy this thinking, oh yeah, it's a new Windows 8 tablet, I can run desktop apps, and then find that they can't because it's the WinRT version. There's only a couple of apps, of course, that will work, one of them being Microsoft Office. So people are going to then look at the next one up and say, right, well, how much more am I willing to pay? And for me, I'm thinking, for Americans, $1,000 is going to be about the ceiling for Surface 8 Pro. About the $999 mark, as Renee's saying in the chat room as well. Price it against the MacBook Air. That's basically the way. I just hope they go for a worldwide release because I want one. Take my money over Microsoft.
And that's actually a good point you brought up earlier. These tablets, the success of them is really going to be heavily based on the population in the marketplace, right? Because these WinRT tablets are going to be the first ones to hit the market. People are going to fire them up, go to the marketplace. Oh crap, there are no apps. Or maybe, oh crap, there are tons of apps.
There's some. I'm running Windows 8 right now, so.
Mm-hmm. So it's going to be very interesting.
Rafael, have you had to go at developing anything for Windows 8 yet?
So I've been in the MetroTwip group. I've been tinkering with that. I haven't done any full scale development, but I've been helping those guys figure out bugs.
You know what? I'm going to put that out there now. If anyone has got Windows 8, the MetroTwip Windows 8 client only went live recently. It is absolutely gorgeous. It's such a nice design. Go and download it. It's the best Twitter client on Windows 8 for me right now.
Yep. Long's really he's really good at the design stuff. So.
Yeah, he nailed it. Absolutely nailed it. So that's Surface, and then of course let's complete the 3 screens in our discussion, and let's talk about Xbox and Smart Glass, because I don't think we've had a chance to discuss that really yet either.
Oh boy,
you get
all the big topics here.
Well, we're going to have to cast our minds back because there's a lot for us to cover. So Smart Glass, of course, is the last piece of Microsoft's 3-screen puzzle in a way. I'm going to leave out the fact that they've just protected the domain of Xbox 8, and the fact that could mean that it's going to share a lot of kernel information, perhaps with Windows 8 as well, just to complete the 3 screens principle. Although I will also, go on, you go ahead.
I was going to say that the 720 Xbox, Xbox 8, what do you want to call it, is highly expected to run off of NT and the Windows 8 base. And so there's good reason to do that, obviously. It's the same thing. They can make apps then that run on your desktop, run on your Xbox. And we're starting to see that now with IE10. I think it's IE10 that's coming to Xbox this fall. And it was funny because I remember actually Paul Thurrott was kind of like, there's a reason why this stuff never works on TV. It's kind of true. Having a browser on your TV is it sounds good, but like Google TV, it doesn't work. And it's the input. It's a matter of it. And no one wants a keyboard on their lap while watching TV. It's kind of lame, actually. But what Microsoft's solution is you use your phone then to navigate the page on your TV and do all the data entering. That's actually really smart. When I heard that, I was like, that will allow you to browse on your TV. Well, basically, using your phone as the
tablet.
Input. Yeah, or tablet. And so I think that was actually like a really smart method to do that. And that's an extension of the Smart Glass thing too.
Right. And we should talk about Smart Glass as well, because they're not designing it as a way to unify Windows 8, Windows Phone 8, and Xbox. And actually, they're treating it as a whole new platform, and they have opened up, of course, to Android and iOS devices as well, which is a really bold move and actually quite a smart one when you think about it, because they want to bring people on board with the idea of 3 screens. And if you're using an Android device already, and you see, oh, look how this does communicate. Actually, the full 3-screen experience is going to be having the Windows 8 tablet, the Windows 8 PC, make it 4 screens, what the hell, Windows Phone 8 phone, and then your Xbox 8 or whatever it's going to be called. And it does make sense as well that they're going to perhaps share the Xbox kernel with Windows 8, because at the moment, XNA being shared means that people could develop for Windows Phone 7 and Xbox 360 with similar code. If they move away from XNA and over to C++, they don't want to lose that benefit, if that makes sense. You want to still be able to develop and just target and adjust a few things to develop an app across all 3 platforms. Mm-hmm. This is an exciting time.
So, it's also important to note that Smart Glass is not just a piece of hardware. In fact, it's not. It's a platform, right? It's a platform and maybe a revamped companion application to go with it. And Microsoft just released an SDK getting people started on smart glass development. Just like the other day, like yesterday, I think. And it's primarily JavaScript. So it's very interesting. We'll see it not only on phones or tablets, but maybe, I don't know, some other legacy web devices.
It's a smart idea as well, because even if it just goes as far as, providing you a little bit of content and information that's on your screen just for, the TV episode that you're watching, or if it does the much cooler thing that I'm excited about of seeing things like, you're playing a game and you'll have your map down on the surface or something and you'll be able to make an adjustment, or there's a million uses for it. It has the potential to basically take all the good ideas that the Wii U has and put it on whatever tablet you've already got in your home. And the fact they're rolling out, of course, the 360, not just for the next generation Xbox, and rolling out to platforms right now, Microsoft is really starting to make good on this 3 screens and a cloud principle, and we're really starting to see the unification that we've all been knowing was coming, and we sort of know that this is the crux. This is what Microsoft's been building towards. This is the bit where we're going to find out whether or not the strategy is going to pay off, whether or not it's going to work.
I think it'll pay off. It'll be the only problem with it was it's been taking a long time to align all their departments. We've mentioned this before about how at Microsoft each division acts as a separate company, and so it's really taken an amazing amount of talent and time to get everybody on the same page and to align those systems up. There's a good rumor going around that Google Glass or whatever, those stupid glasses that they have, and they've just released a $1,500 version for developers, which is actually kind of a smart idea. You give it to developers and go, how can we make this better? They kind of did that. Microsoft did that kind of with the Kinect. But that idea doesn't appear to be too original from those leaked documents we have on the Xbox 720. Microsoft has its own project that they're working on, but it won't be out till 2014, and that's a Wi-Fi version of the glasses that's going to interact with your Kinect and Xbox to basically make like a holodeck in your living room, right? So that you'll be able to do 3D interaction with Kinect, which is really kind of mind-blowing. But that's up to 2014, and in 2015, they want to put a 4G radio in it, and the idea is you can wear these anywhere, and you'll be able to access all your media and content up in the cloud. So your Xbox, your phone, your tablet, which is already pulling all the same information. Microsoft's really banking a lot on this cloud idea with storing your information, whether it's documents, photos, movies, music, whatever. It'll be actually be able to view through these glasses and presumably be an extension of your phone at that point too. But the problem with that, it's not coming out for a couple of years. And actually, it's probably not a bad idea because we all know the battery life issue is still going to be a problem. That's a problem with Google right now, too. The fact is, there's been no revolutions in batteries in years. But from what I understand, Google poached a couple people from Microsoft who were working on this because Google was like, we're going to do this now. We're going to do this. We're not waiting. We're going to get this going, and we'll have something out. And they did it, right? Microsoft, though, is going to take a few more years because they have to get everything lined up and they're taking their time with it, sort of like the tablet strategy. If you're an engineer or someone working on that project, I could almost understand how you might not want to wait 2 years to get this going. And if someone's going, here, we'll give you more money, we can do it now, come over, you may do that. Now, that's just a rumor I've heard. It kind of makes a little bit of sense, but who knows the actual dealings. But it looks like Microsoft at least does have something plans along the same lines as Google, but I actually think it'll be much better because of the interaction, what they're going for with the whole Kinect and Xbox.
Yeah. And did Google announce an actual availability? Because right now all they showed off was a camera on some glasses with streaming internets.
You could put down a deposit for $1,500, and
if you were there,
it'll be out by the end of the year.
Okay, all right.
For developers,
and then that's developers who were there and present.
Yeah, and they're expected that 2013 will be sort of like a development year, and they're going to refine and all that. So theirs actually won't be out probably to 2014 either. But theirs is obviously getting the
media coverage.
Beat Microsoft to the punch, publicly with it. So
yeah.
So yeah, the future looks bright. Is my summary of the first 3 items on our script, and we're already 44 minutes in. Good. Let's stay in the present temporarily. So we've baffled you with the future and talked about all these exciting things that are going to happen. What's been happening this week? The Tango rollout is the big news, of course, for some people. Is it on your phones yet, guys?
Yeah, it's pretty much on all my phones.
I'm on
not yet.
Funny joke.
I manually updated all of mine. So.
And let's talk about, of course, we have got a way we've got an article up there for people who are on AT&T to get the Tango update right now. So if you haven't had a look at that article yet on the website, we have got a little way.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead, ask the question.
No, I was just going to say, does this also apply to the Lumia 900?
Yeah. Well, so it depends. There's two things, right? So there's two methods going on here. There's a little confusion, and especially the terminology, which even I've screwed up. Sorry about that. But so the two methods are, there's a forced update, which presumes that it exists on the server. You're just tricking and bypassing the server and getting it to give it to you. And then there's the manual update. So let's talk about that. If your OEM, HTC, Nokia, whatever, has a Tango update ready for you, along with usually the bundled firmware, that's pretty much how they're all doing it, and it's on the server, but it hasn't rolled out yet, you can do the data trick. You plug it into your desktop, and then you turn off the data quickly, and then you get it. If that happens, that's an official update. That's actually geared right for your phone. That's awesome. That's the cream of the crop. That's what you want. If you try that method, and you tried it 30 times, and you're getting nothing, and it just goes right away, you have the latest update, there is no update for your phone. That's either due to the fact that carrier didn't order one, or the OEM hasn't completed theirs. Whatever reason, you don't actually have.
The carrier hasn't approved it.
Yeah, right. So like the Sprint Arrive is a perfect example. There is no Tango update for the Sprint Arrive officially from HTC and Sprint, and it doesn't appear to be one in the works. That might change, but that looks like the case. So what you can do is the manual update. The manual method is you're just taking the cabs right from Microsoft, and you're just patching the operating system directly. There's nothing wrong with this method. It works. Your phone will be stable and have no issues so long as you follow our directions, which aren't that complicated, by the way. It's just a matter of checking if you install the right languages. But if you do that, it's fine. The only difference is you're not going to get a firmware update with it because there isn't one out there. The firmware usually brings some optimization, some bug fixes specific to that device. It doesn't mean if they release a firmware update in the future, you won't get it. It should. You should still connect and you should get that update.
But can we guarantee that?
Pretty much. Yeah, we haven't had any problems with it. There have been, if you follow the directions, fine. There's no reason why that won't happen. So that's the situation right now. So those are the two methods. So for some people with the 900, you can do this force update where you trick the data and you get it. That won't work for AT&T because there is no Tango update for AT&T yet. At least that we're aware of. I don't think it. George, as I've been trying, and I've been trying, it hasn't worked. You can manually install it though and get those fixes now. A lot of us did that with 8107 because that fixed the keyboard bug, which for a lot of us was imperative. So that's the two-pronged approach basically right now.
So let's just talk about, is this update worth forcing? So for me, people who have not got the disappearing keyboard bug, because I would agree that is worth getting fixed. If you haven't got that, I would say wait, because I don't think there's quite enough in here to make it worthwhile. All you're going to miss out on is if you've got a Nokia, a couple of specific apps that require Tango, things like this new camera extensions app, which is a big deal, but that's the only real thing you're missing out on.
Actually, that doesn't require Tango. That requires 8112.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, the Lumia 900 on AT&T has all of the available apps for us from Nokia, like the camera extensions works. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, good stuff. So in that case, we're looking at some improved. You can send ringtones via MMS. There's fast numeric pin response when you're putting in your pin. A couple of new wallpapers.
But we have to have wallpapers,
right? Which are just the same ones you can download yourself, right?
Yeah, and some more reliable notifications, and that is a big deal. We had an article about this at the weekend about how notifications and background tasks have a couple of issues. It looks like it might fix a couple of things with background notifications. We're not certain about it yet, and I would encourage you to go and read that article if you have background task problems. Because did you hear this, by the way? Nokia Canada are referencing that article as to how to fix your background notifications. Thank you, Nokia
really?
Canada. Yeah, I was happy about that.
It's sad, but nice.
Is it sad? It makes me feel happy. I spent a whole hour writing that.
Here's the official fix. Push a bunch of buttons.
And then it fixes it.
Well, let's get back to the question. Is it worth forcing this update to Tango, at least through manually installing it? I say if you can do the data trick and get the update that way, well, then yeah, you're fine. And there's no reason not to do that because that's an official update. You're going to get the firmware. Focus S
Agreed.
is a good example. Although some people are saying they're just plugging in and getting the Focus S update on AT&T. Good for you. I'm glad. George and I had no luck doing that whatsoever. So we had to, do the little trick. So if you do that, perfect. Go ahead and go right to it. About manually updating it. It depends. To be honest, that keyboard, the entering the PIN number was really annoying for me because all my phones have passwords on them. And it really was kind of frustrating. I had to basically enter my password twice every time I turned on my phone. So that was kind of annoying. I get that. But that's me. The rest of the features, MMS, some people really need that. I use Kick Messenger if I need to send media. So, no big deal there. There's some under the hood optimizations that's nice, but yeah, I don't know. This is sort of, it depends. If you're an enthusiast, you're already reading the site, you're probably already considering it. And so, I don't think if you follow the directions, they're not hard compared to doing what, upgrading your OS on Android, as I mentioned earlier. This is a walk in the park. And go ahead. It's not going to block 7.8. If anything, 7.8 is going to be done the same way. So,
well, 7.8, of course, we missed that. It's going to be rolled out without any interference from the carriers at all.
So, yeah, presumably. But once again, there'll probably be some firmware updates with it, too. So, I imagine there will be some official things. But, who knows how that whole thing's going to happen. That won't happen until after Windows Phone 8 comes out. That's the big thing. Joe Belfiore mentioned this. There's an AT&T document that we have that shows this. But you're not going to get 7.8 officially till December, maybe. So that's why I said it's not feature complete yet. It's not like almost done, and they're going to sit on it for 5 months. They're presumably going to be working on putting some stuff in there. But that's not coming out for quite some time. So, shoot, I don't know. It's up to you guys, but I put Tango on all my phones because why not?
Yeah, I'm not doing
I'm going with I'm not doing it. I'm going to wait for it because I know that I'm just waiting on Vodafone to authorize it and it'll come down.
Once you see how easy it is, there's actually some guy who actually put together a single executable file and it's on XDA and you just run it. It creates a directory with all the language packs and then you just plug in your phone and you just double click the BAT file and it's all the same files that's out there on XDA. It just puts it all in the right folders for you and then you just double click it and you hit, I think, like B. And that's it. You just walk away and you'll do your phone. I mean, that's really all it is. It's running one executable, running the BAT and hitting B. And that's all it is. It's actually ridiculously simple. But, that's it. So it depends how much free time you have. But go ahead.
Yeah, after the Wall Street incident, I will never recommend people do that.
Right. Yeah, I know. Yeah. So, well, quickly, let's explain what that is. So the idea is like every phone, if you go under the settings keyboard and you check what language packs are installed on your phone, I can pretty much tell you most HTC devices have all the language packs installed. And this is generally contingent upon, is the phone specific to your carrier, which there really aren't many of anymore, or is, being like a really unique device. Like the Focus S is kind of a specific device for AT&T, right? There's a couple other ones. Or, so if it has all the languages installed, you just need to install all those same languages. And usually, I think there's like 22 of them or 30 or something like that. So if you install the same language packs, it's a 1-for-1, you're fine. That's just what the system recognizes. If your system has the 30 languages or whatever, and you install like 1 or 2, you might have a problem, and vice versa. If you only have 2 languages and you install 30, then what's going to happen is when you plug in for an official update, your phone's going to now appear different to the server, and it won't go, I don't recognize that. Is that a different phone? And it won't give you the update. Or if it does, it's going to cause stability issues and stuff like that. But you'll know this because a lot of people said if they don't install the right languages, they get like some weird issues with I think it was the People Hub or the Me Hub, or one of the hubs starts performing oddly. So you'll know right away, which is why if you do this method and you hit B, it's going to actually create a backup for your phone. And then you can just go into Zune and you'll see there's a restore point, and you can actually just restore it. And you just hit that and it goes back and you can start over again. So long as you don't destroy your backup files, technically you're okay. I mean, it's kind of like safeguards built into this. So, but yeah, it's not idiot proof. It's close, but it's not completely.
It's almost. So yeah, that's Tango. What else have we got? That pretty much covers us for the sort of big stories that we're going to discuss today. Let's go on to apps and things that have changed in the last week or couple. I think one of the biggest ones or surprise ones to me was that the Twitter app, official Twitter app, actually got some love It kind of took me back. Of course, for those who missed it, the Twitter app now finally has notifications in it. It only took them 2 years.
Pretty huge. Yeah. It only took them about 2 years to do.
Wow.
I was out to dinner when I got someone emailed and just said, official Twitter app got updated. I was like, all right, whatever. Let me update it. And I'm like sitting there and I go under settings and I see notifications and I was like, I had to do like a double take. I'm like, wait, what? I'm like, wait, is that new? Like, or did I miss that because I know it had a few updates recently. And then like I grabbed my girlfriend's phone and she had it, but she doesn't use it. So I actually had to log in to my account and I checked it. I'm like, holy crap, that's totally new. Like, we got to get home. I got to write this story up. And so I'm such a nerd. Cut the romance.
So basically, you finally got out of your flat after 24 hours, away from the cats, and then took your girlfriend out to dinner, and then ran back again to write a story.
Exactly. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Obviously the solution to the problem is I carried the laptop with me, so I could have just started writing it in the restaurant. But anyways, so telling the official Twitter app got this update with notifications. It actually works really well. It's pretty fast. And, truth be told, the official Twitter app ain't half bad. It actually is pretty nice. It's pretty fast on scrolling. It's pretty fast on loading. The notifications actually work fairly well on it. It doesn't have the 9,000 options that a lot of third-party Twitter apps have, and it doesn't have the most creative design. But actually, if you just use Twitter for basic stuff as an extension of the built-in Twitter system, it actually works pretty well. So I've never been too harsh on it. And considering it's free and has no ads, it's actually a good option for, I think, a lot of people.
Yeah. To answer the question, is it too late? Probably not, because this is when people open up the marketplace, right? They're going to search for Twitter. They're not going to search for Carbon or Rowie or Meadow. Right. They're going to search for Twitter, and they're going to look for that familiar branding. So they're going to install this app. So for it to have as many features as possible that leverage the platform, it's great. I found it interesting that they implemented notifications out of all the other phone features they could have added, because notifications requires a lot of infrastructure. So I was digging through that app, and it is built on Azure. It's at twitterapp.cloudapps.net. And poking around a bit, I don't think Microsoft built this for them either. They actually went out and said, hey, maybe we should add notifications. They went out, deployed an Azure template, and got this thing up and running. So kudos to them for doing that.
And the notifications are actually pretty cool. They're pretty configurable. You can do from people you're following or following you, and from anyone. I mean, they're actually pretty specific, and they can do kind of things that even I wasn't aware of some of the third-party Twitter apps have. Now, let's also briefly talk about this. Twitter is actually going under a big reformation right now. They're changing their policies on third-party clients. Twitter is I don't want to say rebranding, but they kind of are rebranding themselves. They changed their logo recently, and they have a specific style of how everything they want it to look. And that's their style. And up to a couple of months ago, third-party apps could do whatever they wanted with that API. They're clamping down now. They're going, okay, third parties, you can use our APIs, but you have to adhere to our guidelines about how stuff should look. And this is sort of breaking, or will be breaking, some third-party Twitter apps, presumably in the future, who don't adopt their style of doing things. I'm not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Twitter obviously feels it's good because it's sort of like what Microsoft is doing. They're trying to control the message. They're trying to control their brand, their style. And if you it's like what Android's done, right? Android, they're like, do whatever you want. And now you have 9,000 versions of Android, all looking different, all behaving differently. And Google realizes now they have a problem. Now Google's clamping down on what you can do. This is why I got the Galaxy Nexus, by the way, because it's a pure Google device, right? Twitter is doing the same thing. They're trying to put the cat back in the bag a little bit here. And so, and they're trying to control.
Again, with cats. How many cats can we have in one podcast?
You can't put dogs in bags.
Everybody knows this cats run the internet. They're the ones that power it. So that's what's going on Twitter right now. It's actually a big change. So this official Twitter app, and Rafael's 100% right with this. When you get a phone and you want Twitter, you look up the brand name. I'm going through this kind of with Android right now. I've used Android before. I have an Evo 4G phone, and so I'm actually familiar with a lot of apps on there, what's popular and what's not. But I still find myself sometimes going with the official brand until you're familiar enough with the OS and the community, you start branching out. You will try these third-party options, but that first experience is about using the official apps for a lot of people. So it's true.
Interesting. Say David Hamilton in the chat room just pointed out. He says he thinks that the Twitter app has always been built by Twitter. He met them at a deep dive in Redmond when Windows Phone first launched, and they were having a lot of MS input, which is interesting because I'm not entirely sure that David was
I thought
saying
it was
that Twitter app is
Identity Mind. Doesn't Identity Mind do?
I thought that as well. I didn't think the Twitter app was built by themselves. I thought it was a contractor, kind of like Facebook does it, but I'm not entirely sure which one it is.
I think it's Identity Mind. We actually interviewed them way back. I think it was in 2010, and they also do the IMDb app, and they just did another app that just came out. It's escaping my mind. Identity Mind's an interesting company. They're kind of really behind the scenes. They did that's right. The new Avery photo program is done by Identity Mind as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Are they hiring?
So, they're kind of behind the scenes, but I believe they did the official Twitter app. Which, I don't know, take it as you will. Identity Mind seems a little bit slow on updates, which is why IMDb, they sometimes, it looks really nice and has some great features, but it's always sort of slow in updating. I don't know whose fault that is, but yeah.
Oh, interesting. David has points out that they would have been a contractor, but they would have associated themselves with Twitter. Absolutely, they would have to follow the message and follow the brand of who they were creating it for. But interesting stuff, and it's actually good to see that they've actually gone back to Twitter and done a little bit of stuff. I think, as you said, Rafael hit the nail on the head. I think to people I know with Windows Phone that aren't power users, they go straight to the Twitter app and install it. And actually, a lot of people use that instead of the built-in functionality because they're kind of used to the iPhone way of doing things, and that it's not necessarily baked in. It's an app, it's a silo, and so it's important that we have, for the people who want to use it in that way, that there is, the good functionality there. Moving on from Twitter, Audible is now finally live in the marketplace and even had an update, I think, didn't it, this week? Not that we particularly know what that did.
Updates. Yeah.
Oh, two?
Yeah.
I don't know anything about Audible, so I'm going to let you guys talk.
I don't. I tried using Audible on the plane back from San Francisco. I downloaded the one of the Bourne series books, and I started playing it. In about 5 minutes, I fell asleep. I can't have someone narrate a book to me. I get tired, and so I'm not a big Audible fan. I'm sorry. I actually suspended my account. Having said that, yeah, the app has had 2 updates. It's on 1.2 now, and so we're not sure what those changes are. Some of them was the German language of translations and also availability in other countries. So it looks like a lot of changes, but it looks like there's still some bugs with it, with Bluetooth users, I think, and a couple other things. But that's better than nothing. It looks nice, at least.
Yeah. When I was on the East Coast, I would get into Audible ebooks because my commute was at least 40 minutes to the office. But here in Arizona, currently, I work from home, so I definitely don't use it. But maybe my move to Seattle coming up, I'll get back into it. I love the idea of having the books read to me. There's like this depth that you can't get otherwise when you have a good speaker. When you have a crappy speaker, then it's just terrible. But I want it's a case where I want to use the app so badly, but I can't right now.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same position, but my also issue was this: like the Bourne Ultimatum I downloaded. It's in 4 parts, and each part is like 7 hours.
Oh,
that blows my mind. I'm pretty sure I could read the book faster than that whole thing. And so it's just like, I could definitely watch the trilogy of the movie. Now, the book is completely different, by the way, from the movie. So, it's not even the same thing, but that's so much time. But a lot of people spend 2 hours in traffic commuting. So I guess for them it works. But yeah, for me, it's a little crazy.
Yeah. I think
Jay's waiting for that 50. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, so you guys just rubbing the face that you both work from home, and there's me who has to go and has to commute into work every day.
It's not as great as it sounds. Trust me.
What are you doing moving to Seattle anyway?
What's that?
What are you moving to Seattle for anyway? Some big new job?
Well, Jenny has been accepted at UW for her PhD program. So I'm just following up there and maybe check out Microsoft on there.
Do you know what? I've been thinking of doing something similar, but we'll chat later. So moving on to Nokia's Camera Extras app, and I've made a specific point here of putting the Nokia app further down the list because people think we talk about Nokia too much. We apologize, but Nokia are the only ones doing anything recently. Live with it. So Camera Extras and Play Now, the two bits that were released for Nokia Windows phones in the last couple of weeks. Play 2, is not Play Now. What am I saying Play Now for? Play 2 is the app they're using for DLNA streaming. I've not had a chance to use that yet because it claims it can't work on my phone, and they haven't released Camera Extras over here yet either, but that looks good. One of you guys use Camera Extras? What's the deal?
I've used it. Don't care about it.
I cannot believe. Yeah.
I cannot believe, Daniel, with your interest in cameras, that you're not jumping on this.
The 900 camera sucks so bad. I don't use it. I try. I love the 900, except I take photos. Anytime I look at a photo on there, I just cringe. I'm just like. So I mean, I'm using where is it here? I use the Focus 2. Is actually my main phone right now. I love this phone. It's perfect size. It just feels awesome. It's not as great as a Nokia. You don't get that cool software. I honestly don't use a lot of Nokia's exclusive software. I just don't. Their maps, it's okay. I use Bing. I have Bing here in the United States, so or whatever. We don't have the music, Nokia Music available, so that's kind of.
Oh, you're not missing out on anything there. Don't worry.
Yeah, so a lot of their stuff
Nokia
I don't
Maps
really
awesome.
use. Okay, I don't need it. So, but I'm not saying their stuff isn't good. It really is.
That's only because you live in your flat with your cats. Where do you need to go?
But I like the Samsung Focus 2 right now. The Titan 2 is also really nice. The problem with my Titan 2 is just that I find it boring looking. And I'll say the 900 is the sexiest looking phone. I love having it in public, and I love using it. It looks so good. But that camera kills me. It really does. I'm a big photo person, so it really bugs the heck out of me. Even the Focus 2's camera is slightly better. And I like the way the Focus 2 looks. I like the white phone thing. So that's my deal. So the Nokia stuff, it's nice. The Camera Extras, they did a good job with it. It has some cool functions, but it's not something I'm like a huge user of.
No,
so, but kudos to Nokia. I'm really excited about their Windows Phone 8. I think Nokia, I mentioned this before, they're like HTC. They really good company, a lot of talent, but they need a little practice. The 900 was, it's rushed. It really is. Nokia had to get these phones to market quickly because they announced like a year ago they were switching to Windows Phone 7. You imagine that? Like they said, like, screw Symbian, we're done. We're completely switching to Windows Phone, but we don't have anything till sometime later this year. That puts the company in a terrible position. I mean, Nokia's business is selling phones. Yeah, they have patents, but their main business is selling phones. And they used to sell a lot. And they went from selling a ton to, So they push these phones out quickly. And they have to figure out the firmware stuff. This is why you see these little bugs with Nokia's. They'll figure it out, though. They're a smart company. So they'll get it just like HTC. HTC's phones, their recent crop have been pretty bug-free. They really don't have a lot of issues because HTC's figured it out. Nokia will do that too. So.
Okay.
Right. Now the Play 2. I wanted to give Play 2 some love. I actually tried this thing. It works okay.
The DLNA. Yeah, I don't have any DLNA. Does this work with the Xbox, by the way? That doesn't have DLNA.
No, the Xbox is not a DLNA server. But I tried it with my old Popcorn Hour. Works okay. It's a little slow, and I tried streaming 720p video from the Lumia. Not that you would ever be using the video camera on this thing, but I tried it. It kind of stutters and then fails. I don't know if that's a Wi-Fi issue on the phone or maybe my device is ancient. But for pictures, I gotta admit, it's kind of cool being able to flick through photos and they show up on a screen. I'm hoping they do a little tweaking there to make the picture show up faster, but it's kind of cool, gimmicky.
Yeah, that's my view on DLNA. I don't know. It just seems lame. It's so, it's like that old joke in movies where someone comes over, right, and they're like, let me show you my vacation pictures. And they put up the slide projector and they're like, click, click, and everybody's bored out of their minds. That's what I imagine in the future. We all have phones. They're like, let me show you my vacation photos. Slide, slide.
The way I
and it's on the TV, though. You know, it's like...
I think of it from the Hangover perspective, right? At the very end of the day, you want to flick through all the embarrassing and grotesque photos that you took.
Oh, right, yeah. I mean, this is sort of the idea also with the Pico projectors and phones, which is like, they got better this year, you know, and still no one kind of cares. It's like 3D on phones. Remember the 3D rage, by the way, 2011? Hilarious. You know, all of these Android phones came out with 3D screens and 3D cameras, and now here we are in 2012. No one gives a damn. It's like, okay. There's a problem with, I think, with all this technology. It sounds good, and you can think of all the reasons to use it, but you know, in reality, no one actually cares. So,
So let's talk games for a little bit. We've got 2 games to talk about at the moment. The first one is Mush that came out today. I really wanted to play this before I came on the podcast, but I insisted on having a Wi-Fi, and I literally got out of work at 8 o'clock, so I haven't had time. Please tell me one of you 2 have played Mush.
I did.
Well, okay, so Rafael, there you go. I've actually played with that at E3, so I've expressed my views in the post. I'm very excited about this game, but Rafael, I'm curious because
that's not fair. But yeah, so
but I was gonna say Rafael has this reputation. He seems kind of like mean and aggressive, yet he loves cute games. So,
yes.
I bet he's gonna like this. But go ahead.
Yeah, I definitely like it. It meets my requirements of having smiley faces and cute little fluffy things on the screen. Let me tell you, this app is one of the most gorgeous apps or games rather on Windows Phone that I've ever played. It's just so silky smooth. It feels like there's liquid, it feels like there's mercury in my phone because it just oozes amazingness there. But now in terms of gameplay, it's kind of shallow. It's kind of boring because it moves so damn slow. But it's cool. What you're doing is navigating this cute, fluffy little ball around and collecting various tokens. There doesn't seem to be a way to die, but I admittedly didn't get very far.
I think he gets cancer.
And there's a very nice gesture implementation. It's not as gimmicky as maybe Max the Magic Marker, but it's subtle, and you make like a smiley face, and that turns your character into one of 6 different states where you can float or sink or blah blah blah. It's really cute. It is $2.99. It's not at the 99-cent price point, but it's definitely worth it. The art is amazing.
Rafael, we've been asked a very important question just to gauge your sort of gaming style and how credible you are as a reviewer by Francisco, in the chat room. Did you like Sally's Salon?
Yes, I love Sally's Salon. I think I've beat that game twice over. I hope we see a sequel soon. If there are people out there working on the sequel.
Coming.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, there's another Sally's game coming. Yeah, that's true.
Yes.
I've already forgotten what it's called. It's Sally's something.
I was going to say this game is very much for me up there with Max and the Magic Marker and Elo Milo. I think if you like those games, it's as creative, or even Tentacles. It's very creative, bold graphics. It's unique to our platform. Actually, I don't think Max was actually unique to our platform, but it just outstanding graphics and just cool gameplay, casual, no time limits kind of thing. I actually like those games. I hate games with time limits and stuff.
Basically, we want Mush to be really successful because it's a unique app to the platform, and we all love it. So everyone listening to the podcast right now, go and just get the trial of Mush. Find out if you love it, because it looks like it deserves to be successful. 2 years in development. 2 years.
Oh, it shows. That thing's amazing.
Yeah. So there you go. The other one to talk about is Paul had a preview up of the one that's coming. I think is it next week? The Pool Pro Online 3.
That's not coming next week. We don't know when that's coming. But yeah, it's coming soon. Yeah, so it's a cool pool game. I'm actually pretty excited about that.
No. It's not just cool.
It's online.
This thing looks awesome, and let me tell you why. I'm not big into pool or billiards or all that stuff, but this game reminds me of one of the classic games that Interplay put out back in the 90s or so, called Virtual Pool 3. This game, I swear to God, I milked the crap out of this until it no longer supported connecting over the network. It looks almost identical, so I'm super excited to try this. This will be the first 3D pool game on Windows Phone, I think, because I went through the marketplace. They have all these 2D things, and it looks like different game modes. I'm super excited. I can't wait. I hope this is just like Virtual Pool.
Do you know what? We can play it online. No, Rafael, that enthusiasm has just sold it to me about 3 times again. Even if it's rubbish now, I'm going to buy it on your recommendation.
Yeah, I need his review on this. Yeah, I'm glad to see
Rafael.
You
have to go on the internet, find a copy of Virtual Pool 3, and play that on PC. And it's still amazing despite the graphic challenges.
Well, so it looks like we're going to have an asynchronous proper multiplayer component as well. So, we'll be able to play each other online over the Xbox Live, which is the kind of stuff we've wanted the Xbox Live platform to do since the launch day of Windows Phone. And I was starting to think this wasn't going to start coming out until Windows Phone 8 when we start getting, the new physics engines and possibly a better multiplayer platform. But if it has a working multiplayer gameplay system, I think I'll be playing this pretty much every single day, honestly, just to prove that I can play things online.
I think it's all gonna boil down to how well the 3D panning works and how the physics work. The balls moving around on the table. If it feels cheap, like half implemented in terms of physics, it's gonna be a big downer. But I think that's probably the primary focus of a pool game developer, right? Making sure the physics work. So I think that's gonna work out.
Interesting fact for you. I wrote a pool game in Java ME once. I was involved in it. Just thought I'd put that out there. I wrote the AI for it. I was quite proud of that. Lots of angle calculations, Going back to useful things, I think the frame rate will be a big matter as well. This one, because it looks like it could be a little bit ambitious on the graphics front. I don't know the fact that I'm having to say that but it is a full 3D. It's a Windows Phone game, and we haven't seen many that have done 3D that well yet. So the frame rate will be a big important part of this as well. Yeah. So that brings us out of apps. Unless one of you guys has got an app you want to talk about, we are massively over time, but what the hell, we're in it now.
Oh, let me just briefly throw out Beam. I think we talked about it on our site before, but it's basically another online radio esque kind of app. But this one connects to di.fm, which is kind of the source of all your electronica music out there. And I love this thing because I listen to di.fm almost 24/7. So I just wanted to throw that shout
out. Learned and possibly downloading. So, Daniel, got anything else, or shall I move on to the comments?
Well, I just want to throw out there, and we're going to get a post up on this soon, but and it's not free yet, but Monster Up Adventures, which I previewed. I think we forgot to get a post up on that. It's a really good game, though, by Karios. He makes the original Monster Up game, which is a little hoppy one, but Monster Up Adventures actually has much more of a storyline to it. It's normally $1.99, but it's reportedly going to go free starting today through Sunday. So I just checked the marketplace here in the U.S., and it's still $1.99. But we're going to hopefully verify that and get a story up. But keep that in mind, because that's a really cool game, great music, and really nice graphics. And feel like those sort of jumper games, but with a nice twist of a storyline, you'll definitely want to get that. So
cool.
Should we briefly touch on the keyboard, the curved keyboard? I know we're over, but
actually, let's talk about that because I think it looks hideous. So there was a story this week, and WM Power User picked up on it, and there's that. So they picked up on it and put this out there, and it's this picture of an unspecified HTC device with a curved keyboard that's designed to match your thumb, and it looks like it doesn't make sense, and it doesn't look real, and it looks fake. Okay, even so, if you load up that picture and look at the right hand side of that keyboard, it's not even properly aligned with the clock above it, nor is curved to match thumb that's showing on the screen. And what's going on with that underscore line at the top that looks like it's the phone being flashed? Getting away from the fact that I think it looks fake, it also looks awful to use, because if you're going to use a layout that looks like it's broken up with 3 or 4 items at a time, why is it QWERTY? Surely it should be the old T9 style, because this keyboard has, there's 6 buttons, and it's got QWE, then RTYU, then IOP. And it just looks like it's going to be confusing to anybody because you're expecting it to be ABC and then DEF, like on the old T9 style. To summarize, I'm not a fan.
So
I'm curious about this. Yeah, Rafael, you probably dug into this a little bit more. So I can't talk. Go ahead.
I just wanted to say I did. They threw out there that this came from Microsoft Research, and that's the first warning flag for me, because Microsoft Research typically makes all their work public. So there's not, there aren't usually leaks that come from Microsoft Research because their stuff's already public. Now, I'm wondering if maybe the people at WM Power Users stumbled on a slide deck that is public, but they thought it was private and they just threw that in there. I don't know. But there is some research to suggest that is public, that they are, doing research on alternate input. And this keyboard that they're showing on the screen, it's actually tuned to the guy's thumb. So what I'll have to find it again, but there's an older slide deck where they're showing that first, when the phone boots, the guy would train the device by tapping as far as he can with the thumb, and then this keyboard scales to match that distance, so that he doesn't have to like strain to hit the buttons at the top. It also curves based on the way you hold your device, blah blah blah. So I don't know. I think it's real. It has all the quality points that when Microsoft Research works on stuff, it's usually pretty crummy in terms of appearance. So this definitely fits the bill. Now, to see it on an HTC device, that's the weird thing here. I wish these guys would just release the slide deck instead of trying to milk it dry for exclusives or something. But I don't know. What were you going to say, Daniel?
No, I was going to say, Microsoft Research, we need to separate this. Microsoft does a lot of research. They do a lot of experimenting. And just because we see this, it's doubtful we'll see this in Windows Phone 8. I mean, it could be. But Microsoft does experiment. It's sort of like the patents that we see coming out, right? We just had another one leaked today that was actually from 2008. Microsoft patents a lot of things, but just because they make a foldable phone screen, slides, or it does all this kind of stuff, doesn't mean we're actually going to see it. And just because Microsoft Research is experimenting with something doesn't mean it's actually going to be built into the system and it's going to,
right? Yeah,
happen.
Yeah, Microsoft Research.
For all we know, they did this and they're like, this actually kind of sucks. So we won't, and that'll be the end of it.
There's not enough space left on the screen. It takes up half the screen in places.
Yeah.
If this is real.
Yeah. So, but this is what Microsoft does. They're like an iceberg. What you see above the surface is public and is what's released, but then what's below the surface is huge. A lot of it never gets released, but this is what they do there. Microsoft has one of the largest technology research campuses like in the country and I think in the world. They employ a lot of people, a lot of educational people, and their links. They even have an app on Windows Phone for searching Microsoft Research, and so they do a lot of stuff. But I think we need to separate if this comes from Microsoft Research, the reality from what they're just playing around with. And for all we know, there's probably about 5 different keyboard input methods because that's what they do. That's how they push things forward and they experiment with new technologies. Someday you may see something like this incorporated. But we can write books on all the stuff that came out of Microsoft Research and things that were leaked and patents and all this stuff that has never come to fruition or gets severely, really modified and eventually integrated into some other technology. So, I don't think we'll see this with Windows Phone 8. That's my bottom line here.
Yeah, we won't see this in Windows Phone 8.
I'm quite happy to put my name to that one as well. We won't see this in Windows Phone 8. I hope we never see this, or at least the idea is all right. The idea is all right, but it needs some work. My personal opinion. Okay, so let's go to the community section, which means that chat room, if you've got any questions, I know we haven't got too many people today because, of course, it is July the 4th, but if you've got any questions, now's the time to start submitting them. Let's go to the comments from last week's podcast, or 2 weeks ago, sorry, which, of course, was you guys in a hotel room. It wasn't necessarily a train wreck, it was just live. and of course, we had Paul. Is it Thorough or Thurrott?
Thurrott.
Thorough. Okay, good. So I was pronouncing it right. So we had Paul on last week as
France.
well. Hey, you got to remember which one's closer to me, yeah?
Yeah, that's true.
So we had a couple of comments last week. There was someone asking why we hadn't mentioned the Audible app last week. We've mentioned it now. People saying that why can't they stream this podcast directly on the app? We can't stream yet. It might come in Windows Phone 8, I'm hoping. People saying that they liked having Paul on the podcast and what he had to say. It was it was good to have Paul on last week. It certainly had some more interesting insights. Almost sorry that I wasn't in the chat, but that's okay. People, of course, were trying to get the free codes we were giving out last week. Did anything happen with that, by the way?
Oh, I need to get a post up on that. I apologize.
Yeah, WinX.
I did tease one during our podcast now, but yeah.
So some SK7 sent a random comment saying "King me" just to get the thing. So there you go. They wish we could have heard us talk more about the event, but of course we need to allow for the fact that you guys are probably really tired. Everything going on. People basically saying, most of these posts are all saying thank you for going out there and putting the time in to go out there and bring us the news. And it was clear that everyone was tired and that we were working really hard, and we had a lot of posts up. So, and one person saying that your pronunciation, Dan, your pronunciation of Hawaii is not Hawaii, Hue even is amazing, and mine's even worse. So
How do you pronounce that, Daniel?
I don't remember.
People are asking HVAKRG, which I'm going to pronounce as Havakurg, is asking, is there any real point in having high resolution screens in 720p on a 5-inch phone or that sort of level phone? What do you guys think? Is there much point in going higher than 720p? Is the Retina display that we see on Apple's iPhone, is that the kind of thing we want to see on Windows Phone?
I honestly don't know. I always find a silly argument being like, we don't need that, because it's true right now we don't. It's sort of like the dual core. We're all like, we don't need dual core, but honestly we kind of do for certain functions. I don't know what a high resolution will look like on a tiny screen like that, but generally the higher the resolution you go and the more dense the pixels are, the better it does look. I think the bigger question is it possible technologically to mass produce a screen at, like, say, 4.3 inches higher than 720p? I don't think that's possible right now. And it's not cost effective. Let me repeat that. So I think that's sort of the bigger question. I think, of course, we're going to go to higher resolutions even on these small screens because it generally does look better. It looks more fluid. It looks more realistic, and photos look really good. There's an interesting thing about at what point does the human eye stop perceiving these differences. That's interesting. I'm positive there's research going on into that. I just don't have access to it and haven't looked into it. But I'm sure there's got to be a limit, obviously. I don't think 720p is that limit, but that's just a guess on my part. So.
I think it's in our chat room, it's a good points made by Lawrence Gripper, who, if anyone knows, does some development for Windows Phone in his spare time. It's been rather successful. As these resolutions come out, it just makes things harder for devs. So you need to kind of keep it controlled in some way to make sure that we have a set of things we can test against, rather than having to make sure we can work on every single resolution, because there's only so much that clever scaling will get you. So I'd like to see sort of Microsoft just keeping a bit of control over how many resolutions we allow. Just makes our lives easier. Other than that, Jedi 12 said, Daniel, I noticed you said Microsoft skipped some features to Windows Phone 8. Are they big? Is there much more than was said in the summit? And also noticed that they all presented was the home screen, didn't show what was on the right. We covered the fact that we know that things on the right are staying the same. We are still seeing an app list. And yes, there are more features to Windows Phone 8 than were announced at the summit, most of which we either don't know or can't talk about, some of which you might find if you dig around certain articles on the site. Anything to add to that, Daniel?
No, I mean, some of us know more than what we can say publicly. That we're not under like an NDA or anything. It's just...
Well, we kind of are.
Not really. I never signed anything with Microsoft, but I also like Microsoft, and they actually like us, and I don't want to go and just be like ruin everything for them by revealing stuff. There's also the second part, which is I could reveal stuff that's going to change. That sounds weird, but Windows Phone 8 is not finalized yet, and there are changes. We've talked about numerous times that they dropped the 4th resolution for Windows Phone 8. That was just a couple weeks ago. They did that before the summit. Up to then, there were 4 resolutions. One was just another VGA, so it's nothing you guys will miss. But that goes to show you how fluid this stuff is with them. So I don't want to be like, and by the way, this new feature is coming. And then like they're like, well, it didn't work out, or for some reason we couldn't do it, so it won't be actually in there. And then I look stupid, and then makes Microsoft look stupid. So there is a lot more. They said that for a reason. And the reason they did that, by the way, was because it was actually pretty logical. They're like, you can't go buy a Windows Phone 8 phone right now or anytime soon. It won't be till, my guess is October, November. So they don't want to hype up all the consumer stuff, and then you look at your phone and be like, So as we get closer to Windows Phone 8, they're ready to actually reveal everything, and they finalize what will be in it, then they'll reveal all that stuff. But yeah, there's stuff, and I know there's stuff that even I don't know about yet. You mentioned about the sliding over to the screen, there's the app list. I'm pretty sure that is the same, but for all we know, there could be some minor changes there. Who knows? But I'm presumably there are some stuff even I'm going to be like, whoa. Even, Paul Thurrott and I were joking when we went to a pre-summit meeting with Microsoft. We basically knew everything. Actually, a lot of us went to that meeting just so we could figure out what we can't say. But there were even a couple of things we learned about that were kind of like, oh, okay, raised an eyebrow. We didn't know that. So there are a lot of stuff that's coming, a lot of stuff for the consumer stuff. But have patience. Give it a couple weeks, couple months. More will come out. Don't worry about it. But there's a lot more cool things coming.
So I just wanted to throw in some late breaking news there. Microsoft on our forums just posted a link to an AT&T article, or kind of a support thing, that apparently they're pushing out Tango, and they've outlined the devices. So they've outlined HD7S around Quantum. Was that?
I don't think that's accurate. I've seen that, but I don't see anything in there that.
It doesn't exactly pinpoint Tango, but it does mention updating their firmware for a 7 or a 7.5 device.
Right. I think they've always had that. They've always had these support documents that just generally tell you how to update your phone.
Okay.
I don't know. Maybe I'm missing something there. Maybe it's not obvious to me. Maybe I missed something in the update screens, but
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So there you go, Microsoft. Daniel does not believe you at all.
Well, no, unless maybe I'm missing something. I quickly saw that. I'll go back to the link now, but I just didn't see anything there that seemed new to me. I thought they always had these how to update your phone kind of things.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Okay. I'm going to throw this for you to start spilling things. So let's go to the chat room. We've got a couple of good questions in. I want to first go to one by Cesar Matos, who's asking, do we think it's possible that somebody will port Windows Phone 8 to the older devices? He has seen people porting the new IS all the way back to iPhone 2 or the iPhone 3G. What do we think?
So I think no. And the major reason is because Windows Phone 8 has Secure Boot. Secure Boot will not be supported by hardware previous to Windows Phone 8. Will have UEFI or whatever they rely on. So it's going to be much harder for these hackers to flash or create custom bootloaders or whatever they do. But I don't know. What do you think, Dan?
Sorry, I didn't hear the question.
Wow.
Do you think it will be possible for somebody to port Windows Phone 8 to older devices? Because we have seen people porting new iOS back to iPhone 2.
Yeah, I think there'll probably be some work done on that. Sure, why not? I mean, they've done everything else so far, so why would that be a difference? And they probably are testing Windows Phone 8 on some, current devices. So yeah, maybe it depends. It really depends on can the architecture of the CPU handle that. So.
Okay, we're just going to take literally a couple more questions, then we've got to wrap up because we're running out of time. So we're going to ask Kevin, who I think some of us know, asks, which Windows phone should I buy? Dan claims BlackBerry is screwed. I feel like I know this guy, like he might be involved in one of our sister sites. Kevin, you should either wait for Windows Phone 8 or you should pick up probably the Nokia Lumia 900 as it's the most attractive device. But technically, we believe that the best device is currently the HTC Titan 2. If you want the best phone, best hardware, that's the way to go, is our general opinion. And you should also just move away from BlackBerry because, it's time. It was a good ride, but 2013 is a long wait for BlackBerry 10. Just saying.
Yeah. And if you're in IT and haven't adopted Windows Phone yet, Windows Phone 8 has a bunch of attractive business features as well. We won't get into them now because we're over.
No. Speaking of Windows Phone 8, so people are asking, do we think we'll see a PureView Windows Phone 8 in Nokia World this September? JNBS21 asked that. The answer is yes, I think we will.
Sure. Yeah, definitely.
And then Marcus Brown has asked me if I can tease any new features for the Windows Phone Central app in Windows Phone 8. And Kevin Wheeler has asked, am I porting it to Windows 8? The answer to both of those questions is that we have nothing to announce at this time. That'll do.
Sounds a professional there.
And by nothing to announce, he means he has nothing.
Can you tell? And I'm wearing my suit, therefore I have to give it in business speak. Right. So just before we wrap up, I want to remind people that if you're going out to see fireworks later on for Independence Day, please remember to keep your cats indoors. They don't like fireworks. It's very serious point.
And don't drink and drive.
Oh yeah, and and always use it. I'm not. Someone wrap up because I'm about to fall asleep.
Okay, Rafael, you do it.
I can't. I don't have notes.
All right, fine, okay. So you can find us all on Twitter at WP Central, myself at Daniel_Rubino. You can find George at CopperTop004, Rich Edmonds at Rich Edmonds, Jay at JT Bennett, Paul at Sega Khan, Rafael at Weston Rafael, Matt at Rogue Code, and of course Dave, our forums administrator, who's on vacation this week at Big_D5. It's been a Mobile Nations podcast. Go to mobilenations.com for more great shows covering everything mobile, or head to the WP Central forums to get involved with our community, discussing more about Windows Phone news, devices, and apps. It is the largest Windows Phone community out there, so join that discussion. We have great forums. Thanks to WP Central Store for sponsoring the podcast. Thanks also to these great artists for music and ccmixter.org, blah, blah, blah. And that is all. We got to go. We'll be back hopefully in a week or two for another exciting podcast. Thank you all for joining us. Take care. Bye.
Bye-bye.